Hello, and welcome back to Lyre. We're still taking a bath, getting the cleaned up, always good. I watch the fountain flow down, creating ripples on the water as I try to take my mind off things. After a while, the tense silence breaks as I hear Lyle disturb the water.
Well, I've I've had enough water.
I watch him turn around and lift himself from the pool. I get a glimpse of his rear and quickly look down, biting my lip. He gets up and walks over to one of the benches where I see some clothes laid out. He takes a towel and starts to dry himself off. By the end, his fur is really fluffy, and he combs it down with his paw. While I'm watching his tail swish back and forth, he turns and meets. He turns and his gaze meets mine. I drag my eyes down and hope he didn't see me looking. I hear him stand there frozen. Then he continues to dress. I'm still looking down at the water when I hear him walk up to the edge, his feet splashing the small puddles that have formed on the ground. He stands there smiling down at me with a loose shirt and trousers on.
I guess I'll see you later.
He looks around for a second, then gives me a nod. He walks behind me and I hear him go through the door. I sit there for a bit, a bit longer, waiting for my obvious erection to go away before getting out. Once I do, I slip a bit. Walking over to the levers. I pull all of them a second time, and the water shuts off. The water drains, and I hear the pool filling up again. I peer over the edge and see it filling up with fresh water. I guess that's how they clean the pool out of any soap left behind. There's some towels folded up and stacked in the corner. I grab one and start to dry myself off. Once I'm done with that, I throw it down the chute and start putting on my clothes. It's not difficult, but it still hurts a bit due to the soreness of my wounds. Once I push the last button into place, I walk over to the bench next to the door and put on my shoes. I then make my way out of the bathroom. When I step out, the sun is high in the sky, and a few birds fly by the pillars. I look on the ground and see Lyle's wet footprints making a trail down the hall. I shake my head and clutch myself, walking over to the edge of the window. Staring out the window gives me a beautiful view of the kingdom. I see some homes scattered about, and if I crane my head in the right direction, I can catch a glimpse of the city and Fjord. I gaze a bit long, then sigh. I can't shake off the thought running through my head right now. It feels wrong being so attracted to a man I just met. Not to mention, he's my bodyguard. And a wolfman. I mean, it's not unheard of. I shake my head, ashamed of myself. There's just something about him. Sure, he looks good, but he's different from most people I've met. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders, and he has a kind heart, though he humbly tries his best to hide it. Of course, this is just my first impression of him. There's one thing that I really like about him, though. He seems genuine. The hours drag by slowly. I spent most of the afternoon after lunch going through scrolls, documents, and letters that were sent to me to deliver to the king and his council. Most of these go to the king, though. I don't think he has a large council, which is partly why I'm here. Lyle comes back to my room sometime after lunch, relieving the guard who took over while he was gone. He peeks in and asks if I needed anything while I was working. I invite him because I knew that I still want to pry some information out of him about what's to come. Sure, I've been in this position for some time, but this is my first time outside of my own kingdom. And they seem to do things differently around here. I also enjoy his company. He's sitting in the same chair he sat in last night, toying around with a dagger. I pick up one of the letters from the small pile and place it in a stack designated for the king's eyes.
Now that you deliver the So now that you deliver the king's mail.
He says this in a snarky tone while resting the edge of his finger on the tip of the dagger. I, s- I sigh, dropping my hands slowly and glancing out the window. Reasoning, wait, reasoning behind this was to ensure that all of this, I gazed back at him while gesturing to the letters, got here, but after the rock slide, there has to be some missing.
The north winds have probably carried them all the way to the golden timber by now. Men gathered up as much of them as they could, though.
I raise an eyebrow and hold up one of the scrolls, which has been smeared with dirt. I know. The trunk was practically smashed to pieces.
The lid was bent.
Whatever. He stifles a giggle and grins at me. It brings me out of my sour, overworked mood for a fleeting moment. The toothy grin is contagious. I grab some of bunching them up together and stacking them against the desk. I put away the other scrolls and sit at my workspace for a minute, with my hand folded in my lap. I go back and forth for staring out the window to staring at Lyle. His bushy tail sticks out in the back of his chair and sweeps the floor, slowly down over time. Slowing down, that's what it says. He sits there for a minute, tinkering with his blade before lowering his shoulders, letting out a big, breathy sigh.
What?
Huh?
Why are you staring at me? Is this about earlier? Well, I'm sorry about, gracing you with my...
What? No. I just wanted to talk more about. I gesture behind me out the door. What to expect?
Oh.
He shivers, shaking his head a bit.
I mean, like I said, you really don't need to prepare for so much. It's just dinner.
I know, but I want to make a good first impression. If I screw this up, I won't be taken seriously in my profession ever again.
Your profession? You won't be taken seriously at the dinner table ever again.
He says this with a hint of sarcasm.
However, if it's anything like the dinner we had last night, I'm sure you'll be fine. Personally, I think you're over-exaggerating.
Maybe I am. In any other place, this would be reasonable. But does he tend to tend to take these things seriously? He thinks for a moment, his nose twitching.
No, not really. I mean, he does. He just takes a more relaxed approach.
Oh, excuse me. That sounds like it's going to make my job a lot easier. I'll take your word for it. The rest of the day passes by without any trouble. I started to feel really tired at one point. I laid in bed to rest my head for a bit and almost fell asleep. Lyle came in and nudged me back into reality. He told me that we should leave soon, so I put on my suit. The soap from the bath did wonders for my hair, giving it a really nice shine. It also feels nice too. I pick up the letter and scrolls off the desk and make my way to the door. I look down the hall and see Lyle with his arms resting on the sill of the window. He's watching the sun go down behind the mountains, and his figure is engulfed in warm light. His tail is swaying slowly behind him, and his eyes are glazed with the evening light. When I get closer, he turns his head and smiles.
Look at the sunset. Isn't it gorgeous?
He stands I stand next to him and look out the window. The sun eclipsing behind the mountains, its warm light cascades over the landscape. The water of the fjord are glistening with bright pink and orange hues. A soft wind blows through the hall and twists around the pillars. Yes, it's very beautiful.
You're probably not used to views like this.
Back home, there aren't as many mountains, but the way the sun shimmers on the water off the coast of Earn is very enchanting.
I've never been that far west before.
Really?
Yes, I've spent all my life on this mountain on this side of the continent. I think that it would be very nice to go explore the rest of Tigran.
I think I already know the answer, but I ask anyway. Why don't you? He lowers his head with a bittersweet smile.
Unless this kingdom sprouts legs and walks across the entirety of Tigran, I cannot. I have given my life and heart to the king and this kingdom. I'll be doing this for the rest of my life.
He gestures out across the landscape. That sounds sad.
It's not all bad. I did go a little bit south of Lyre once.
No, we began walking down the hall at a slow pace. I think you would like Aaron. It's a beautiful place with a perfect climate and rolling hills.
I'm more interested in stranger places.
Like
the Shadow Gulch and the Parched Labyrinth. I just want to go somewhere new. Somewhere completely different from Lyre.
We walk in silence a bit longer. Lyle is walking with his paws behind his back and his chin high. He keeps opening his mouth as if he's about to say something, only to close it. Finally, he speaks.
I'm sorry about earlier.
What?
Snapping at you like that. It's my fault anyway. I could sense you were uncomfortable the whole time, but I thought I could make things less comfortable if I just played it casual. I'm usually the only one in there during that time of day.
Is this about the bathroom?
Yes.
I reach over and place my hand on his back. It's fine. He grimaces, then puts on a shy grin.
You're right, I'm sorry. I just tend to overthink these things.
I didn't know you were so shy about your body. My jest gets him as I watch his mouth curl like he's trying to stop a smile.
I'm not, I just...
He sighs and waves his paw dismissively. I let out a slight chuckle.
What?
You have a cute laugh. I can feel my face. Oh. That was him saying that, yeah.
You have a cute laugh.
I can feel my face flush red. Please don't say that. We laugh together for a moment, then carry on the rest of our walk in silence. Delving far into the interior of the castle, we twist and turn through the halls. The torches lining the halls are lit with a glowing blue flame. As we make our way deeper and deeper into the castle, we pass framed paintings of noble-looking people. I see a badger dressed in colorful clothing with a large ruff around his neck. A little ways down, I see a portrait of a fox clad in a white and a purple silk, dress and a shawl. That's what that says. After a while, we came across a large pair of double doors.
Well, here we are. Are you ready?
I swallow the lump in my throat and nod, straightening out my clothing. Lyle walks up to one of the large doors and, raps at it? Okay. For a moment, there's only the sound of the door knocker echoing down the empty halls. Then there's a voice from the other side.
Come in.
Lyle glances in my direction and opens the door. The door swings open and a warm room meets my eyes. There is a large dining table in the center with 3 chairs. I took to my left and see the other chairs have been stacked up against the wall. Cabinets and chests line the wall underneath the curtained windows. On the far right wall, there's a mirror and some wine. Straight ahead of me is a large painting of a table full of food and butchered meats. That's what that says. It looks like a royal pantry. A large chandelier hangs from the ceiling, right above the table, illuminating the room with an orange glow from the candles. Despite all of this, the room looks fairly simple. My eyes take in most of this within a second. But after that, I'm immediately drawn to the figures in the room who stand to greet me. Oh, this lad's cool. Okay. There, sitting in the chair to the left of the room, is a large stag. The king. His antlers are tall and elegant, framed by a crown with the crest of the Tigran. The shimmering green gem at the top signifies Lyre's territory. He's clad in a large fur coat, with greens and purples. He's almost as big as Lyle. Child. Okay. I look to the right side of the table and see another deer. This must be the prince. He's not nearly as tall as his father, almost coming up to my height. To my height. The antlers on his head are small prongs. Okay. He's wearing similar colored clothes, with a much more noble look to it. He has a cape draped over his shoulder, pinned down with the crest of Tigran. His demeanor is diminished, and he barely makes eye contact with me. I turn my gaze back to the king and lower myself to one knee, bowing my head. King Rynar, it is an honor to finally be in your presence. He has a stern look on his face, but there's a warmth in his voice.
It is good to see that you have recovered, Lord, Richter.
Richter. That's what that says, Richter. Like the Castlevania.
I am so terribly sorry about what happened to you on your journey here.
Yes, it was an unfortunate event. I am very grateful for the welcoming hospitality that you and your staff have shown me. He gives me an understanding nod and gestures towards the prince.
This is my son, Prince Adrius.
I bow in his direction. It is a pleasure to meet you, your highness. He grimaces for a moment, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, then straightens up. Likewise. There's a short moment of silence, which is broken by Rynar.
I take it my captain has been hopeful?
He gestures towards Lyle, who is standing in the doorway. Lyle shrugs his shoulders and smiles. Very hopeful, yes.
That's very good to hear. I knew that Captain Reed would do well with his task.
Well, I cannot deepen my voice today. I can't do that anyway. I'm a squeaky toy. Even though I'm looking at the king's direction, I can still hear Lyle's tail wagging furiously.
Please, take your seat.
It takes a moment for my leg to work again, and I walk around the table, passing by Adrius. And as I'm walking around the table, I hear the door close and realize that Lyle has left. We take our seat, and I set the box of scrolls and letters on the floor next to my seat. There is a moment of silence before Rynar speaks up.
I hope your accommodations are adequate.
He rests his hand on the table, leaning back in his chair. They're more than adequate, your majesty. He draws back with a frown on his face.
Please, you can refer to me as Rynar. I would like to dispense with the formalities when not in public.
If it pleases you. Lyle wasn't kidding. This is the most casual king I've ever met. Then again, I've only ever met one. Or queen in the no-nonsense type. What is that? He nods. He nods towards the box on the floor next to me. Oh, yes. I bend down to pick up the small box and place it on the table. These are some important documents that were sent with me to deliver to you. Financial reports, some settlements, and news about the other territories, and other letters of intelligence. I figured that I should give these to you when I had the audience. He motions with his hand for me to slide the box his way. I push the box in his direction, and he examines the documents.
Is this everything?
I fold my hands together. This is all that we could salvage after the crash. I have a list of the missing documents, and I'll have copies delivered. He opens one of the letters and skims over it before placing it on the top of the small pile in the box.
I thank you for bringing these to me. I shall go through these letters and share these documents with the rest of my court, so they can evaluate them.
He pushes the box off to the right and places his hand on the table. There's a half minute of silence before Adrius Lightly slaps his hands on the table in resignation. So that's it? A glance at a piece of paper, and that's all you have to say. The mood of the room instantly changes, and for a moment I'm too shocked to even sink in my chair.
As I said, I will look at these documents later.
He turns to me, drumming his fingers on the table.
I had hoped to delay this meeting until Lord
Kadaj? Is that what that says? I don't know.
arrived, but
We have a kingdom to rule. I like this kid. I probably shouldn't. I feel like the game is telling me I shouldn't like this kid, but I like this kid. Reiner has a stern look on his face as he stares his son down from across the table.
I have a kingdom to rule. And 2 other kingdoms to work with. I see it as best to wait until both parties are here before discussing such matters.
Adrius grits his teeth for a moment, then reluctantly concedes. Of course, father. I only have our kingdom's best interest at heart. Reiner leans back in his chair with a look of concern on his face.
Since we are still waiting for our ambassador from Dries, I assumed that we could use this time for introductions.
Okay, I'm actually going to end the part right here, so I will see you around, everyone.